Thank you, Ron. It's a pleasure to be with everyone this afternoon. Before I begin describing my experiences with eSchool Mall's process and system, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a purchasing professional for over 40 years, so it gives you an idea how old I am. And I've worked in private industry for about 30 of those years at companies like GE Aerospace, Unisys, and Tyco, and some other smaller companies in my early career. And then the last 12 years, my experience has been in the public school business. 4 of those years were as a school board member of my local home school district, and the last 7 have been as the director of purchasing here at Neshaminy School District. And to give you an idea of what Neshaminy School District is about, we are a southeastern Pennsylvania school district in Bucks County. We have 12 schools. 3 of them are elementary, 3 middle, 1 high school. Currently, we have about 9,200 students, and we are in a declining student enrollment mode. Our peak was about 13,600 students back in 1972. And the trend is forecasted to continue to be downward for us. Our annual budget is in the $170 million range. Our current forecasted budget for next year is a little over $171 million, and that budget actually has a $14 million deficit in it that we're going to be working on reducing between now and the end of June. Our expenditures per student are probably in the top 10% of the state of Pennsylvania, which isn't unusual in our area of the state. Cost of living and salaries are a little bit higher, so the top 10 in Pennsylvania, probably half of them are in southeastern Pennsylvania. Our district has 1,200 employees. About 800 of them are certified teachers, and 400 are support staff. I've been an ESM solution customer since the early part of 2010. You want to advance the slide, Ron? The reason I became a customer of ESM was more of an external pressure due to the financial situation here in Neshaminy. We back in fiscal 10 were facing a similar deficit to what we're facing this year, which was about a $14 million budget gap. We were in the Obviously, we all knew as a country we were deep into the beginnings of the worst recession we've all seen in recent times. And our board of school directors insisted that we not increase taxes at that time. So the result was that in an effort to contribute to reducing that deficit and not raising taxes, my department gave up 2 full-time staff members. And that was about a 25% reduction for my organization as purchasing and central receiving. When that situation occurred, I had to look for ways to become more efficient. And I needed also to provide better service to the organization with less resources. And the way I decided I could do that was through a better e-procurement system than the one that we had at that time, one that would give easier access to people to better pricing. And what I found was the ESM solution fit the bill for me. Our old system was very manual in nature and very prone to error. In our old system, we would process about 9 supply bids every year, which encompassed about 4,000 line items, and we would collect those requirements manually on paper, and they were entered into our old system by a clerk in our purchasing department. And then we would issue those bids to suppliers, and the bids would be returned in sealed paper, paper bids in an envelope with the paper bid defining the pricing on each line. And in total, we would get about 6,500 prices each year from 242 vendors. Then we, as a purchasing department, had to enter that into our then current online vendor bidding system. And it became quite it was quite burdensome and very time consuming and very prone to error. And not this, obviously, if I were reducing my staff 25%, I couldn't afford to continue to devote that much time to it. So I wanted to find out what technology was out there in the e-procurement area that would help me. And I pretty much had been looking at various systems casually over the course of the previous few years, and I would, by and large, receive very good recommendations from other colleagues that had already gone out and purchased an eSchool Mall system. And that was such an encouraging thing for me that that was pretty much the way I made my decision to pick that platform, was based on my colleagues in Pennsylvania that had the system for a number of years, and they were very pleased with it. The system provided a much better means of communication with my suppliers. In my old system, I would maintain 20 or 30 categories of vendor listings and their email addresses and contact information. And when a bid was ready to be issued, I would send out 20 emails to somebody on that particular category list, and undoubtedly half of them would come back to me as undeliverable because the names would change and the email addresses were no longer valid. And in the eSchool Mall system, that's virtually been eliminated for me because they maintain the contacts in the vendor database for the bidding module. So it's helped improve the communications tremendously with our suppliers. Also, our old system had poor visibility of workflow. We would process a good number of our annual purchase orders would start out as manual paper requisitions that would come to purchasing, and then we would actually enter them into the electronic system that we then had. And that cycle of letting a rec go at a school to the time it became a purchase order would probably average 4 to 6 weeks. With the eSchool Mall system, it's obviously all done electronically. It also enhanced the ability to have attachments with the electronic rec, where our old system had electronic approvals if you opted to use it and not do the manual rec, but it did not have a means to attach quotations and letters and various information to the requisitions that we now have with our eSchool Mall purchasing system. So we collapsed that 4 to 6 week period to an average of 3 to 6 days now to place a purchase order once it's been put into the approval cycle. Just to give you an idea of some of the major events in our evolution of using the e-procurement platform from eSchool Mall here at Neshaminy, as I said, we started looking seriously at how to do things smarter in July of '09 when we had our probably the worst budget year in recent memory. And around March of 2010, we actually signed our subscription license with eSchool Mall. As the purchasing director, was responsible, obviously, for the implementation and the training of this system. And my intentions were to do the rollout in that summer, but things just kept getting away from me. So I didn't actually begin uploading some of the supply catalog information until the fall of 2010. I issued my first supply bid out of the eSchool Mall system in January 2011 using their easy sourcing module and completed my first bid. And I've been using the system now. I'm in my third bid cycle using the easy sourcing. And then the other part of the process or module that we bought was the easy purchase module, the purchasing part of it, as opposed to the vendor bidding part. That I decided to roll out in two phases. One, I physically am housed at the high school campus of our school district. So I started out with the high school, which is in our district a 9 to 12 grade institution, and about 1/3 of our students are actually on this campus. So that's where I began with the department heads in the purchasing, in the high school, and the secretaries at the high school were my pilot program for training and rollout of the purchasing module. That went very successfully through December, January, and then in February, March timeframe, I pulled together all of the building secretaries for the other 8 elementary and 3 middle schools, and I gave them the training that I'd given to the high school back in December. And we ran dual systems, both our old purchasing system and our new system, from February through April to April 1st, and then everyone was told that the old system would be turned off, which it was April 1st, and we started using exclusively the new Easy Purchase platform. And right now I have about 100 requisitioners in the system that goes down to the teaching level in our school district. And we process somewhere in the neighborhood of about 300 purchase orders a year and about $5 million in that system. And we're doing our 9 supply bids that go out to about 242 vendors and have about 6,500 prices, as I mentioned. And then we convert all those bids into purchase orders, and that's pretty much where we are right now with the process and the rollout. The benefits that we have seen here is that we obviously have a much more friendly or user-friendly system district-wide now than we did before, and we actually were able to transition in like about a 2-month period from our old system to our new system after we did the training. We eliminated 90% of what was done manually before in terms of the purchase requisitions. And the part of moving to this platform was a desire to get more of the purchasing under control in terms of directing it towards bid-protected contracts. So that has been a very key feature of the eSchool Mobile platform, in that we are able to take our 9 bids, convert those to catalogs in our purchasing module, and then people can actually buy off of those catalogs the whole school year. In addition to those bid catalogs, we have loaded in our system a dynamic link to other people's catalogs that are part of cooperative contracts such as U.S. Communities or TCPN or other local cooperatives that we participate with. And those contracts are bid protected, and they're with people like Office Depot, School Specialty, CDW, and NASCO. And we intend to add to that list of punch-out catalogs that are available through the purchasing drop-down module. The system is extremely user-friendly, and the training was not difficult at all to handle. We actually had ESM come in and do some of the initial training for 1 or 2 of the sessions, and then once I felt a little comfortable, more comfortable with that, I actually did all the training myself via webinars and in-person training here within our school district, and the process is going very well. We've eliminated what used to be a very labor-intensive paper process, especially with our supply bids. And another area that was very labor-intensive that I haven't mentioned is that we have a central receiving function here that would receive all of the material for the district, and we would handwrite manual 3-part form papers of what was being received to use that document as a traveler to either have a copy go to the purchasing office, a copy went to accounts payable, and a copy of that form went with the material to the school. We eliminated that 3-part manual process, and we actually received through the purchasing module and the receiving part of that process by receiving online and simply printing the screen of what we received. That eliminated a tremendous amount of handwritten manual receivers in our process. And of course, all our bids now are being done electronically and online, and saved us a tremendous amount of time. The amount of man hours that we put into the process and purchasing to process the collection of bid inputs, to issue the bid, to receive the bid, and then to evaluate the bids has been dramatically reduced. We've also have the luxury of a collapsed procurement cycle on the order of about 8 weeks. We're able to process these supply bids about 8 weeks faster than we used to in the old system. And another nice feature of the eSchool Mall system is the reporting part of the system. In my old system, I was the only one in our organization that knew how to generate the various reports out of our system, because you had to use a third-party report writer called Cognos to generate any reports that we wanted. Whereas in the eSchool Mall system, they have a selection of canned programs that anyone can run simply by selecting what kind of report is needed. And those reports can be given to you in both a PDF format and an Excel format. So if you want to manipulate data or merge various reports together in Excel, it's a very easy process to use. Another benefit that we have realized is being able to reuse the materials from previous years and previous requisitions. In the eSchool Mall system, each year when it's time to rebid the supply categories that I did the previous year, I simply recreate the catalog from the previous bid year and add and delete whatever requirements people would like. And I'm able to then also pull up the vendor invitee list that's from the database that eSchool Mall maintains, that's very accurate, and it's a very quick process. Once all the inputs are received from the schools at the close of my aggregation period, I usually have the bid out and loaded onto my website within 4 hours. So it's a very nice, quick, easy process. Ron, can you hear me okay? I'm getting a message that there might be some network issues.
You dropped out for just
Ron,
like half a sentence. Yeah, you dropped out for
okay.
half a sentence moments ago, but you seem to be okay since.
Okay, I don't know if it's it looks like it's my network doing that, but if for some reason it goes blank and I don't come back, you have my phone number. You can call me and tell me to stop talking.
All right, will do.
Okay. All right, so the communication part of our new system is, as I said, so much better. We don't have half of our database having to be updated every year. It's maintained constantly by eSchool, by ESM Solutions, and it's a very good system. But I must say the number one benefit to going with eSchool Mall's platform or ESM Solutions platform is the fact that I was able to integrate the vendor bid or the purchasing module into my district enterprise system, and it's a flawless integration that's remained flawless since the 3 years that we began this process. And that was a very key item of my being able to sell, going out and buying a different purchasing module and bidding module than the one that was already included in the current enterprise system that we had then and still have now. So that interface and transition that was done for us by ESM Solutions has worked very well and was an extremely important feature. Some of the things, next slide please, some of the things that we learned obviously from going through this is that opportunity knocks at the most difficult times. Sometimes when you're presented with a problem, it gives you the opportunity to take advantage of that and to do something different. So when we were forced to downsize, it made us look at better ways of doing things. But technically, that's how I got to be where I am. But for everyone out there that's not going through as severe an issue with headcount and budgets, you still can justify using a system like this based on the savings that you could generate. You could easily make a statement that if you have some sort of a manual process and you're going to go to an e-procurement process, you could save 20% or whatever number you want to put on there that you're going to have to at some point justify and show the results for. But you can sell the system advantages on savings by driving people and driving people to controlled procurements and contracts that have more advantageous pricing in them than just letting your users go out and buy whatever they want, wherever they want. And I'm talking about those things, obviously, that are below the bid thresholds for those of you that are having to deal with that particular part of the procurement codes in your various locations. In Pennsylvania, as long as you're under the bid threshold of a certain amount, you don't even have to get multiple quotes. Right now, our formal bid threshold is 18.5, I believe, this year. So below 18.5 and over 10.5, you have to get 3 quotes for whatever you want to buy. By having a good e-procurement system that's easy for people to use, that ties to contracts that you've negotiated, you can improve the savings that you can generate by having a system like that. And as I said, the key to our being able to do more with less was to have a e-procurement process that gave us those benefits. And of course, with any kind of change, there's a little bit of pain that comes along, and you have to be prepared to accept through it. And we had to do that here. I mean, not everyone relished having to learn a new system, even though it was a very simple system to learn for both the approvers and for the requesters. You will always have people that don't like the change, so be prepared to have to deal with that. And of course, we had some other savings that I didn't particularly document in a specific fashion. We don't mail POs anymore, so we save on postage and envelopes. Every PO that we issue, we fax. And we also have eliminated paper at the receiving end of our process. And our phased-in execution of the cut-in of the 2 modules really helped to streamline or smooth out the bumps in the change process here at Neshaminy. Next slide. Some of the things that we're looking forward to as the next phase for us with eSchoolMall is there is the ability to tie together your purchasing module with the P-card program. And we do have a modest P-card program in place, but I'd like to explore perhaps using that to a greater extent and tying it together with our purchasing module. I also want to continue to increase the supply base of contracts that have been negotiated that have attractive pricing to drive up the volume of the dollars that we spend with those kinds of suppliers. And we're going to continue to leverage the ESM solutions that have been developed with other cooperatives like E&I to piggyback more contracts out there that other organizations are providing as a vehicle for us to use. And we would like to expand our ability to analyze the data and through the use of dashboards with some of the new features of the ESM solution system. And lastly, it's not on the slide, but one of the features that I want to perhaps change here is to go from a central receiving operation, which we have, to a site-based receiving system. And that will be possible because of the system that exists on how we do receiving in eSchoolMall. But unfortunately, right now, that's a contractual issue with our collective bargaining system or union. So I may have a little time delay in getting that implemented.
Sounds like that could be a whole other webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. Next slide. So kind of in a concluding vein, we here in Neshaminy have saved over $75,000 a year through reduced headcount. And based on the cost of our subscription, which I think when we negotiated our subscription was on a per pupil basis, we've been able, we got our return on our investment in less than 3 months. And that concludes my part of the presentation. If there are any, you want to take questions now, or we're going to go on?
Well, let's take this transition point, Anthony's going to say a couple words here, but before he does, I'll just remind people, please feel free, type your questions in. We'll be answering those here in just a couple minutes. There's already a couple streaming in, but again, feel free to add some more. And with that, I'll turn it over to Anthony.
Thanks, Ron. I appreciate it. And Tom, I thank you very much for participating and telling your success story today. Here at ESM, we appreciate the time and the opportunity to earn your business over the last few years and really kind of help you along with the success you guys have been having at Neshaminy. I also wanted to thank everybody for attending the webinar. I know everybody's got busy schedules, busy days, and taking some time out of your calendar to jump on these calls is important for everybody. So we appreciate that. Just a couple quick words that I just wanted to say for those of you who are not familiar with ESM. ESM for the last 14 years has really been, dedicated to providing a robust suite of spend management tools to our customers. And during those last 14 years, we really have learned that it's important for us to manage our business around 3 real guiding principles that I want to touch on today. And really, over that time, we've learned that our customers ask us for a lot of these things around those 3 topics. And the first one is affordability. The second one is usability, and the third one is value. And when you look at those three words and how you kind of look to provide solutions for our customers, we really feel that it's important to kind of really deliver these solutions in a way that it's important for everybody at their individual organization. So when I talk about the first guiding principle around the affordability of a spend management solutions, everybody on this call wants to be able to do some of the things that Tom talked about today and be able to deliver a solution that's going to be robust enough for them on their individual institutions or campuses or organizations, and really being able to deliver that affordable spend management solution is really one of our guiding principles, and it's really important to us and to be able to deliver that out. And as you can see here, on this slide, and as Tom talked about today, we have solutions that scale from the sourcing process through the purchasing process, all the way down through reporting and contract management. And all of these tools, whether they're done individually or together, really allow you to, better manage and analyze your spend at your individual organization. And, as we deploy these solutions, we find it important, which ties into our second guiding principle at our organization, is usability. Usability of the solutions is really important, as Tom talked about today. Being able to get your individual organizations and your people at your locations to be able to use the system, it really needs to have a nice, clean look and feel and be very easy to use. So people that are coming into this are very comfortable with going through the purchasing process. We look at it as that if you can go out there and shop on the internet and you can go manage working on your individual websites that you look at in your personal life, then you can easily come into the ESM Solutions suite of tools to navigate and make purchases within your organizations. And the last guiding principle that I touched on was value. And the value to us is really very important as well. And we find it different depending on each organization we talk to. Everybody has different things that they're trying to achieve as they go through their days and at their different organizations. And the way we provide our tools really helps you drive to that value. So whether it's a configuration choice of the solution, and like Tom talked about today with using easy sourcing first and then rolling out purchase in a separate phase, or being able to come in and rapidly deploy this and get it up and running and out there to automate those processes, we really want to make it clear that we want you to feel confident that working with ESM really gives you the ability to realize that value, and in turn, it's going to be important to have a return on that investment. And over the years, we feel that all of our customers have been very successful in doing that. So with that, I just wanted to thank you all, for the time today. Ron's going to open it up to Q&A here shortly, and again, I want to thank Tom for joining us, and we very much appreciate it.
All right. With that, let me, I guess we'll just get in with the Q&A section here. While this slides up, let me address one of the questions that came in. The question is this: was the system designed for use by government entities to begin with, or has it been adapted from something used in the private sector?
So this is Anthony. I'll take that one, Ron.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yes.
So I think maybe this slide here actually will probably answer that question, so it couldn't have been any more perfectly timed, I guess. Our history has been primarily in the public sector. By public sector, I'll term that as meaning state and local government, cities and counties, education, both in the K-12 and the higher education market. And that's really kind of where we grew up as an organization. Now, we've had other organizations in the private sector, as you will, that utilize our solutions, but it was purely built from the ground up around the public sector and the public sector nuances with procurement, encumbrance accounting, being able to, like Tom talked about, having bid thresholds and being able to build rules and stuff around that. So yeah, so initially we grew up inside of the public sector, and as you can see here by that slide, you'll see here's kind of a high level of the public sector clientele.
All right, thank you for that. The next question, I'll just go ahead and leave your contact info up here for everybody, just in case that's required by anyone. So this next question is actually from me to Tom, and it's based on my experience in talking with some of the e-procurement professionals in a number of different industries. And when I speak to them, one of the common traits that come across from them is that they're all just too busy. And sometimes it seems that just keeping things running on a day-to-day basis prevents them from taking a look and seriously evaluating more strategic projects such as an e-procurement or a spend management solution. So my question to you was, were you like this? And now that you're on the other side, so to speak, how would you respond to that "I don't have time" sentiment?
That's a good question, Ron. Actually, for me, the response I would give is you really have to make time. And I don't know who said it, but if you want to get something done, give it to the busiest person in your organization, and they'll be the one that'll get it done. So the fact that you're busy is good, and it probably means that you're doing a lot of good things. But when it comes to looking at efficiencies in e-procurement, you really, if you're not there now with the system that you're happy with, you really have to make some time and look at your options and plunge in and do it. For me, it was a concurrence of a couple of events that made it easier for me to do it. And once I got the approval to spend the money for the package, it still took me a little bit of time to get up and run with it because of other things that were going on within our district and within my department. So you really have to make time to do it.
All right. This next one, I think this is for Anthony. Does the system have an electronic approval path for the requisitions?
Yeah. So yes, yeah. So I'll take that one first, and I think Tom had touched on it a little bit that they're doing some of that internally. So yes, within the system there is actually the ability to use a very robust workflow engine. However, I will say that we've got some of our customers that are utilizing different ERP systems and have invested in building workflow approval paths. Use what we call our integrated cart configuration, and this allows people to shop the purchasing environment, but still be able to leverage the ERP financial system workflow process when those are in place. So multiple different configurations. So the short answer is yes, there's a workflow engine. You could do a lot with it, and it's very configurable.
And from a user's perspective, it kind of scared me when they use terms like workflow and having to set this approval process up. But once I began doing it as a new user, it really was very simple, and it took me a couple hours, and I set up maybe 20 different workflows and approvals for different applications and buildings and departments, and it works very well.
All right. I think this one's geared towards Tom, but maybe it's Anthony as well. The question is, how many vendors are on your vendor list?
So this is Anthony. I'll take it first, and then Tom, you can kind of talk a little bit about what you've done. I want to touch on it specifically. So within our applications, we look at suppliers in two different ways. Within the sourcing environment, we've got tens of thousands of suppliers inside of the sourcing database that you can use to do bids and quotes and things like that. You can also invite maybe some of your local suppliers that you might have to some kind of event that you may host. In the purchasing side of the system, it's a little bit different. There, it's really geared more towards your preferred suppliers. We've got easily over 1,000 different suppliers that we've managed hosted or punch-out catalogs for. I won't go into the full explanations of what those are, but we've got lots of different suppliers, from your big box, suppliers and office suppliers and IT suppliers. I know, Tom's mentioned some of them today, all the way down to a small local supplier that historically hasn't had a real way to create an e-commerce type process where we can help manage that inside of your environment.
From my perspective, I'll answer that in two ways. First, the vendor bidding part of the process. We didn't lack competition in the old system, nor do we in the new system. And the number of suppliers for us hasn't changed dramatically. As I said, for our 8 or 9 supply bids, we invite about 242 vendors to those events, and they're all ESM. They're all suppliers in the ESM system. And when we talk about the day-to-day purchasing through the purchasing module, all those vendors are controlled from our database, of which it's quite voluminous. Our next number is at 38,000 something, but reality is we use about 2,000 different vendors on our day-to-day purchasing. And one of my goals, as I mentioned before, was to get more of the 2,000 into the smaller group of maybe 300 or 400 vendors that are under contract, and get away from having 2,000 and really only have a few hundred or several hundred that we can concentrate on. So I hope that answers the question.
Okay. So this is another one I'm going to throw in there for commentary. So Anthony, we've been doing some market research, and it seems that most e-procurement professionals out there expect a solution like this to pay for itself in 9 months to a year and a bit. Yet Tom's showing a 2.5 months to pay back, essentially. What, from your perspective, what's typical for your customers?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great question, Ron, because I think it does vary depending on the rollout and the implementation that we do at each of our individual customers. But typically, we'll see somewhere in between, on average, somewhere, I'll say no more than 6 months, 3 to 6 months, and they're really starting to realize the return on investment for the solution. And it really goes back to what I was saying, on the prior slide that at the end here, was that it comes down to things that we really guide our business around, which is the affordability, the solution, getting your end users to be comfortable to be able to go out there, put out bids, save money on bids, be able to preferred contracts, and then, lastly, really around the overall value of the solution. And Tom touched on a little bit of it about the automation of the processes that were manual, previous to that. But I think what we do really see a very rapid return on the investment with our customers because of the affordable nature of the solution.
Okay. And sorry, did you want to chime in there, Tom?
I was just going to say, my experience before I came to my current position here at Neshaminy was most organizations buy large enterprise-type systems that cost 6 figures and on up. And for us, we still have an enterprise system that probably cost us that much. I'm not that familiar with our enterprise system that's used by finance and our student services and what have you. But the nice thing about eSchool Mall is you can buy a little part and use that very effectively, and they'll build the bridges into your old system for you.
Okay. That may have touched on the next question here, which was which finance systems do you integrate with?
Yeah. So yeah, so I'll take that one, Anthony, again. So, so we've done, and I'll focus more just kind of generically with some high-level ones, and there's a lot more. But we've done over 36 different type of what I'll call ERP finance, general ledger type system integrations with our customers, and, and a lot of the large ones that you've probably all heard of, like Oracle and PeopleSoft and Lawson, SAP. Banner, Colleague, Pentimation, Vitech, Munis, Infinite Vision, Skyward, depending on which industries you're on. But to date, we've got over 36 different integrations to those ERP finance GL systems.
Okay, and looks like this is the last question for the time being. And could you perhaps describe your pricing model?
So I'll assume that one's for me.
I assume so.
Yeah. So yeah. Let me just give you just at a high level. So the way we work our pricing model, it's based on what we call the FTE, the full-time employees at your organization, which allows you to fall into different tier. And as Tom mentioned, we actually have a very configurable solution. So you can start with the entire suite or pieces of the suite. And then each thing breaks down on the different modules. So if you want to buy just the sourcing suite of tools, you can purchase that. If you want to buy the purchasing suite of tools, you have that. And then there's configurations of the purchasing suite. I mentioned, the integrated cart model, which you may not be using our workflow engine, and you may be just using, the shopping cart and PO delivery type services, or you have the purchase suite like Tom has, which is the whole thing. And then we also have different modules for contracts management and analytics and things like that. But on average, what we see is, our typical, if you were to go full suite, really ranges somewhere in the tens of thousands of dollars, not the hundreds of thousands of dollars for our customers. And we can deliver those things in pieces or all together. And if anybody wants any specific information about your organization individually, my contact information's right there. I'd be more than happy to get you some information.
Okay, great. So with that, I'll give you guys a chance just to make some closing comments, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up the webinar. So Tom, is there any closing comments you'd like to make to the folks?
No, I just appreciated the opportunity to share with my colleagues out there in the procurement area, and feel free to give me a call if you jot down my email or phone number, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have in the future.
All right, thanks, Tom. Anthony?
Yeah, just real quick, I want to thank everybody, for the time today, and especially Tom for telling the story about the success he's had. And I'll just leave it. If anybody needed any more information, you can either email me directly or call me directly, or you can go to our website. On each of the different pages, there's a schedule, a demo, or a contact us form you can fill out, and then we can get back.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Thank you for your time this afternoon and your attention on the webinar today. With that, I will go ahead and wrap this one up, and keep an eye out. We'll be having our next webinar in about a month, so we'll look forward to seeing you again then. Thanks, everybody. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn off GoToWebinar here.
Thank you.